All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, December 11th, year of our Lord 2024. And the New York Mets did sign Juan Soto, and I did promise to be nice for the rest of the year. And we've got 20 days left. And so I've got a choice to make. Initially, what I was thinking about doing was just not uploading for the rest of the year, and it'd be kind of a joke. But also, it would help me to be nice. But I had a better idea. All right. So one of the things I was considering doing, and I really was considering making this a joke, just not uploading for the rest of the year. But one of the other things that I was considering doing was just kind of helping. I'm a helpful guy, you know what I mean? I just wanted to help, and I wanted to help some of the people that, have found themselves kind of as our opponents in all of this controversy. Just try to help them kind of understand the internet a little bit, because there does seem to be a little bit of lack of understanding. And that's driving a lot of the angst that I see. And so that was the other option I was willing to go. And so that would be probably a multi-parter, just, each week take a different topic that I think I can help with. And, not that I'm an expert on the internet or anything, but I do know a little bit about it. And I've done a little bit of research of my own, you might say. You might call it research. I don't know if you'd call it research, but... So I think I'll do that. I'll do that. And where I'm going to start is not really with the topic, but with this particular post. Pastor Jeff Durbin decided to join Twitter today, and his first couple of posts. I guess he joined X, not Twitter. His first couple of posts were, expressing some of the angst that I'm talking about here, and I want to be helpful. I want to be as helpful as possible. So. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it and then try to offer just a little bit of a counterpoint, a friendly, welcoming, welcome to X. Just maybe you haven't considered these things. Maybe you have, and this is redundant, but I just thought I'd help because I think I can help. I'm a helpful guy. And so here's what Pastor Ninja has to say. He says, quote, I note that those taking issue with my post that courageous men's lives will not be marked by only fighting Christians, but will be marked by their courageous conflict with unbelievers. Are many people hiding behind anonymous names with a history of mostly fighting other Christians? Would y'all consider your type of anonymous internet courage fighting other Christians based? Or am I using the wrong word, kings? Seems totally mid though, doesn't it? No cap. Yeesh! That was hard to type. Probably because I'm a grown man and not taught how to speak by teenagers on TikTok. How do y'all do it? Here's the point. Look at your lives and the lives of your leaders. You talk about a Christian nation in theory only. It's merely a fantasy for you all. Proof? Because neither you or they spend any meaningful time or at all reaching the lost so they can be converted. You aren't courageous or masculine, kings. You are little boys playing with computers and phones, arguing with believers, and podcasting in the safety of your four walls. Christians are soft targets. Neither you or your leaders are impressive. We all believe you are truly working toward a Christian nation when you can prove it. Get off X. Go show your real face and use your real name with an unbeliever. As I said, meet the world face to face. I'll take at least three things. 1, a genuine love for the lost. 2, discipline. You'll have to stop wasting time playing on the internet. And 3, courage, the real kind, the kind you've deluded yourself into thinking you possess. I have to go. I won't be fighting with you. We have outreach to plan for and do. End quote. Yeah, and that's the post. That's the post. Now, a couple of things, and this is, kind of a constant drumbeat of mine. If you notice, he's not going to actually directly tell you which anons he's talking about, which podcasts he's talking about. And that's a problem because, at the end of the day, Maybe this applies, and we just don't know because he hasn't specifically called anybody in particular out. So if it does apply, then I guess it's probably okay advice, whatever. But really, this is about, you guys are, you Anons, you don't do anything in real life. It's just all playing on the internet. That's what this is about. It's throwing shade at a large swath of people. Now, obviously, I don't qualify for this because I'm not anonymous, and so I don't have any opinion that Jeff is talking about me. I don't think so. I mean, maybe he is, but I wouldn't know it from this post. So I'm not taking this personally. But I do know quite a few Anons, and so they're not Anon to me, but they are Anon online. And so, obviously, I'm not going to dox them, but I think there's a couple things that you really do need to understand. And let's talk about the three things that he'll take. Number one, a genuine love for the lost. This is something that I've heard his co-elder, James White, say before, where he talks about, evangelizing Muslims, and none of you have ever done that kind of thing. And it's just one of those accusations that you just throw out there, right? Do you even have a genuine love for the lost? Well, I mean, how could you possibly know? I mean, at the end of the day, you really don't know what you're talking about. I mean, they're anonymous, for goodness sake. They're anonymous, so you have no idea what they do in their regular lives and what they do day to day and how they feel about the lost and all of this kind of thing. It's just one of those accusations that doesn't really serve any purpose, really, except to mudsling, or maybe to at least maybe draw some guilt out in the person. They could look at their lives and say, man, I really don't care for the lost. Maybe I should. And if that's the case, well, that's fine. That's totally fine. But, the Anons that I know, they absolutely do have a genuine love for the lost. And I think that, there's really, it's one of those weird things because, Jeff here is kind of, he's got some angst about activities on the internet. But, when I talk to people about the Lord, I don't post a video about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what it's about. It's not about posting a video of me, having a conversation with a coworker about the Lord. I don't really have coworkers, but, people that I engage when I work, that kind of thing. I mean, I could tell you about all that stuff, but that's not really the purpose for me doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very odd position to be in. Well, you don't have a genuine love for the lost. Well, how do I know that? Because you're posting online. Like, it doesn't really make any sense when you think about it. Like, a lot of people, when they talk to the lost about, the Lord and things like that, they don't tell anybody about it. Maybe their wives, maybe their family, maybe their pastor, but, usually that's about it. You know what I mean? There's no sense in bragging online about this unless you're looking for prayer or something like that. But I've seen Anons talk about that kind of thing before. And so, true, if you're an anonymous Twitter poster, it's true, very true, that if you don't care for the lost, I think there's probably a problem there for sure. You should take a look at that. But when I see an Anon poster that posts spicy stuff online or whatever, I don't know. My mind doesn't instantly go, wow. I mean, there's just no genuine love for the lost. That's not really where my mind goes. I don't really understand why you would assume that, or how could you even begin to know that was true or not. And I think it was during the Crusader controversy, right? I don't care about Crusaders, but Dr. White was very upset about Crusaders and all this kind of stuff, and talking, bragging about how many Muslims he's led to the Lord, and you've never led any Muslims to the Lord. And, I posted a video about various Muslims that I've talked to about the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, it has happened, but that doesn't, require me to, delete my Twitter account in order to prove it somehow. That doesn't really make any sense to me at all. And so, that's the first thing. I think what you need to remember is that Anon people online, they're actually people, and they actually have regular lives. You know what I mean? And their lives probably are pretty comparable to the lives of the people in your church. If I had to guess, they're Anon, so you really don't really know. But I do know some Anons, and their lives are pretty normal. You know what I mean? They've got families, they've got children. They're concerned about the same things I'm concerned about, like, making money, providing for their family, catechizing them, things like that, their neighbors, all of this kind of thing. This is what I think, I think it'll really help you to look at every anon and just assume they go to your church. Assume they go to your church. Because if you do that, I'm not saying they do go to your church, but if you do assume they go to your church, you'll recognize that this is just a person. This is just a person. And that's it. Simple as that. So, that's number one. Number two, discipline. He says discipline. You'll have to stop wasting time playing on the internet. Now, recently I posted a video about the water cooler. You know what I mean? You remember the old water cooler? And the water cooler, when you're at work and you're working, a lot of times people will gather around the water cooler and kick around nonsense. It's like nonsense talk a lot of the time. But my argument is I think the nonsense talk actually is helpful. It's actually helpful not only to break up the day and kind of, get rid of the monotony of your day, but also a lot of times you'll argue about certain things that, they are basically nonsense, but they actually do help you in your normal life. Like you kick around, various ideas about the Crusades. Again, just to go back to that whole controversy, right? Like it's really not that big a deal because, obviously we're very disconnected from the Crusades and stuff like that. But if you argue around the water cooler about the Crusades, it helps you to kind of organize your own thoughts and ideas regarding those things. And it really won't be a world-breaking sort of kind of decision that you make and stuff like that. But I think it does have an impact on the other things that you do in your life, the other ways you engage with the world and stuff like that. And so a lot of the people that play on the internet, like you say, wasting time playing on the internet, a lot of times it's a kind of replacement for the water cooler. And I post on the internet, but what I'm doing most of the day is I'm working. You know what I mean? I'm doing my job. Like I'm finding customers to, sell my recruiting services to, and then I'm finding candidates and having conversations. I have a ton of conversations every day, probably like 50 conversations a day with business owners and people that are on the job market and stuff like that. And that's what I do 90% of my working day. That's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm working. That's what I need to make money to provide for my family. And, I'm helping businesses grow and I'm helping people find good jobs and stuff like that. And I talk about all kinds of stuff throughout the day. I post online, but, I post whenever I feel like it. Like I'm not just on there just refreshing, well, maybe I was back during the Soto sweepstakes, but you know what I mean? Like it's not like this is not what I do. I think the impression that you give here is that this is just what people do. They're just wasting all their time playing on the internet. I mean, it takes 5 seconds to post. I've always been confused by that, where people say, you're wasting time on the internet. Well, some people probably do, but, a lot of times I'm posting and I'm doing other things at the same time. It's just most anons, listen, you gotta get this through your head. Most anons are just regular people. And they do all the same things that people in your church do. They work most of the time. They're with their families most of the time. They do outreaches. They do all this stuff. Just because we don't have videos of them doing that, or maybe they don't talk about it, doesn't mean that they're not doing it. I'll give you an example. Just today I was talking to, or yesterday rather, I was talking to a CEO and stuff like that, someone that I have a relationship with. And, she was talking about DEI initiatives and stuff like that. And she had heard that I was against them. You know what I mean? And so we had a whole big conversation about DEI and why I'm against them. And we've also had conversations kind of similarly about, just various kinds of spiritual things. And so, of course, I connected it to some of that stuff and all of that. And it was a great conversation. Nobody ever had to know about it. I didn't have to talk about it. I didn't have to put it online. I didn't have to take a video of it, and put it out there so that everybody knew that I do other things besides posting online. But the thing is, like, my belief is that anons have those kinds of conversations all the time. They're just people. They're regular people, and they do the things, especially the Christian ones, they do the things that typical Christians do. And so again, like, I think the angst will go away if you just consider these people as if they went to your own church. Because if you do that, I think that their lifestyles and what they do with their time will be very comparable if you do that. You see what I'm trying to say? I don't think that there's any value in raging online against Anons and pretending like they're the worst people around. That's what Big Eva used to do. You know what I mean? I'm not calling you Big Eva, but what I am saying is there's no value in it for you. You don't gain anything by treating Anons as if they're subhuman. You don't. Because they are humans. And the thing is, too, let's just be honest. I'm saying, like, you should treat them as if they were someone that went to your own church. I have no knowledge of this, but chances are some of these guys go to your churches. And they're regular people, and you probably would be very friendly with them. And they probably align with you 90% of the way. It doesn't do you any good to rage about the Anons online. Look, some of them, I don't like what they have to post. And you know what I do? I just move on with my life. I mean, I've engaged with Anons before, but if they say something that's just absolutely terrible or wrong or whatever, you just move on. It's just an Anon on the internet. This is something, it's not new. There's always been Anons on the internet. There's always been people that troll on the internet. This has always been there. It's always been a part of it. It's not new. It's never going to change. It's always going to be there. And they're all just regular people. It's as simple as that. So here's the third one. He says, courage, the real kind, the kind you've deluded yourself into thinking you possess. I have to go. I won't be fighting with you. We have outreach to plan for and do. This one, again, this is mudslinging. It seems to me it's mudslinging for the most part. But again, you have no idea what Anons are planning to do or if they have courage or not or things like that. You just really don't know. Now, the one piece of evidence that you might have is the fact that they are Anon. And so a lot of people interpret that as you don't have the courage to put your name on your beliefs and things like that. And I don't think that's going to do you any good. There's such a long history of anonymous people that had plenty of courage. You know what I mean? Anons that have had plenty of courage, people that use pseudonyms that have plenty of courage. But courage doesn't mean foolish. And I think in the age of the internet, we've come to learn that this is, for some people, very important. Courage does not mean you have to be stupid, right? You should try to insulate yourself in such a way that, you could still take care of your family, because our enemies are ruthless. They don't care. They have no morals. And you know this, Pastor, just as much as anybody. They have no morals. Well, they do have morals. They're just upside down. And they will try to destroy you in any way they possibly could. And so, for me, I'm not a non. I could see why someone would want to be a non, but I'm not a non. And the reason I'm not a non is because I'm not indestructible, but I'm pretty uncancelable. I have my own business. I have my own customers. I have my own ways of getting revenues. You know what I mean? Like, these things are very helpful for a guy like me, that if anyone wanted to cancel me, it'd be harder to do. It wouldn't be impossible, but it'd be harder to do because I could find different customers if I lost my customers. You know how it is. You know what I'm trying to say. And so, again, I just... And here's the big thing that when I read this post that I really wanted to help out, and I think that this will be helpful. But, I have to go. I won't be fighting with you. We have outreach to plan for and do. And that's great. That is absolutely great. And you know what? Anyone who's never been a part of any kind of outreach, I highly encourage you to do it. It's something we should be doing. Nothing wrong with outreach. It's needed. It's necessary. All of that kind of thing. But here's the thing. The reality of life in 2024 in the United States. We don't get paid to do outreach, to plan for it, to prepare for it, to record it, to do all this stuff. We don't. A lot of people have 2 jobs, 3 jobs to provide for the family. They don't have time for elaborate outreach. They don't have time for it. That is not the test of who's a Christian or who's faithful, who has got courage or who doesn't. A lot of people work a ton just to keep their heads above water. And they've got some people, they've got big families and they are not on the clock. You know what I mean? To do outreach. Now, a lot of these guys still do outreach, and I'm sure you're in that boat too, Pastor. I'm sure that you put in extra time to do this outreach and stuff like that. You've got a big family, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's great. But for many of us, for many people, we just don't have the bandwidth for elaborate, outplanned outreach where you got to plan for it and then do it. Like, we just don't have the time for that. And so the things that we do when we have conversations about the gospel with people and things like that, that happens throughout our days in little individual pockets, and it happens kind of over time and in slow ways. It's not planned out. It just, these conversations come up, and they come up because we're freaking busy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most Christians are not pastors. Most Christians are not missionaries. Most Christians are not deacons. Most Christians are just rank and file, regular people that have regular jobs, that have regular concerns and regular things. And that's okay. That's okay. I hope this helps. I'm being nice. It's still 2024, and I'm being nice. And I just think that my most helpful advice to you, if you're going to be posting about this kind of topic, is just to remember that the anons that are posting the spicy stuff that you don't like and all that kind of stuff, that either stands or falls on its own. It doesn't do you any good to attack the character, because you have, first of all, you have no clue what their character is like. But chances are, well, this is worse. This is worse. You don't know what their character is like, but chances are, I would say the vast majority of them, they have lifestyles and they do things, and they've got the same concerns as people in your church. Chances are, they are some people in your church. So just remember that the next time you want to rant about anonymous people, these are regular people. Bottom line, treat them like human beings. That's something that I think is important. Just treat them like you would treat anyone that goes to your church. And I think that if you think that way, you can post about anons and stuff like that, but those posts will be better. They'll be better posts. They'll be more effective, because you're not really... How do I put this? Right now, you're engaging in a very disrespectful and dare I say, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Immature. Immature is what this is. This kind of a post is immature. And I think that most people can see that. In any case, I'm a helpful guy. I'm being nice. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.